Namaste students, myself Sunil Kumar from the Department of Computer Science. Today we are going to the second session based on the chapter that you can see here, data types. Already we discussed one session with our previous session based on the same chapter. In that session we mainly discussed about what is a variables. What is a variable? That it is a programming element or programming object. That value can be exchanged, will be changed during the program execution. When you are going to execute the program, the value stored in a variable that can be changed. That is actually known as variables. Then after that, we discussed with the data type. We started with the data types. In that, we also discussed the different types of data types. If you take the data type is mainly specifying the type of the data and associated operations. That is a data type. And if you take the data type mainly are of three types. One is fundamental data type. Second one is derived data type, and also the last one is user-defined data type. Fundamental data type mainly are of 5 types. There are 5 types of fundamental data types are available. First one is we know as integer data type. Second one is character or char data type. Third one is float. Next double, and last one is you can say the point. So these are the mainly 5 types of data types or fundamental data types are available. After that, next type of data type is known as derived data types. The derived data types are derived from the basic one or fundamental data types. Example, you can take that arrays. Arrays is the next topic what we will discuss. That arrays. Next pointers. Pointers also derived data types, and also the references. Or these are the some derived data types. After that, last type of data type, that is user-defined data type. So user can define his own type of data type, that is actually known as user-defined data type. Example, structures. We say we will discuss about structure. That structure, then class and object. Next year we are going to study based on the class and object. So class, structure and class is the, then also enumerated. Enumerated, these are the mainly 3 types of user-defined data type. So these are the different categories of data type. In this session, we are mainly discussing about the deeply in case of what is a fundamental data type and also the different types of modifiers. So first here is what is a data type. Already told data type is a type of the data we specify. Which type of data we have to specify that. That is actually just to understand that. So what is a clear definition? We can say a definition like this. Data types can be defined as a set of values. You can define the data type as a set of values which can be stored in a variable. It can be stored in a variable. So remember, data type can be defined as a set of variable which can be stored in a variable along with the operations can be performed along on those values. So remember, same thing. What I told, same thing in a definition format. So data type means data types can be defined as set of variable, set of values. Remember, data types can be defined as set of values which can be stored as a variable. Which can be stored as a variable. In a variable, we are going to store some values. In a variable, we are going to store some values along with the operations that can be performed on these values, and also operations can be performed upon these values. That is actually known as data types. That is actually a definition. But if you are not getting that one, just to understand, if you want to store one particular data, we have to know what is the type of the particular data. We can store character D is possible to store, character A is possible to store. That is actually one type of data. So if you take integer values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative numbers, that are always known as integer values. Whenever integer values are there, that is one more type of data. Sometimes fractions will be there. The fraction also one more type of data. So these are the different types of data. These are the different types of data. If you want to store the different types of data, then that is actually known as data types. So data types mainly are of 3 types. That is a fundamental, derived and user-defined. First we will go to the fundamental data types. If you take the fundamental data type mainly are of 5 types. Fundamental data types mainly are of 5 types. The first one is int, char, float, double and void. These are the mainly 5 types of data types. Int, char, float, double and void. The first one is int. Int means that is used to store the integer values. Int is a data type that is used to store the integer data type. So integer values. So if you take integer values, example here is 800 minus values. fraction values, any integer values can be stored. Any integer values can be stored. Example is this. These are the examples. Examples. This is an example. 800 is not that value. Any other values are possible to store. So these are some examples. And if you are going to store the data in integers, there is a limit to it. So maximum value we can store minus 32,768 to 32,767. This is the maximum length, or we can say this is the range of data storage. This is the maximum range. Only that much value can be stored in case of integers. Then after that, this is the total size of integer value. What is the size? Or it is the bits or size, you can say. Size of the value, size of the particular integers. Integer size will be the 2 bytes. Remember, it's not 2 bit, 2 bytes. Is it 2 byte of data can be stored. So this is the integer data type. The next one here is character data type. Character means also known as char. Char means that is a keyword. Then if you are going to use, normally you are saying it's a character type. It's a character type. If you take the character type, the size will be only 1 byte. Character type has only the 1 byte of character, 1 byte of size. Memory size is required. And remember, it can be stored only the minus 128 to 127. Can be that much value only can be stored. So because how you can say minus 128 to 127 characters, that is not possible, because that is based on the ASCII values, American Standard Code for Information Interchange. I already told what is ASCII. If you take each value will be converted into numbers. If you take the character A, that will be 64 will be that equivalent value. So that will be the value. So all the values can be stored in case of these values, minus 128 to 127 means this much characters can be stored in case of characters. Here the example is B. So remember, whenever if you are going to give the value of character, should be enclosed in a single quote. All the characters should be enclosed within a single quote. Here single quote D, a single quote 1, single quote hash, any symbols. It's possible to store any kind of symbol, any character, any numbers. That is possible to store. But if you store use the character, that size will be only 1 byte, and that will be stored in the form of characters. That is character. Next one is a float. Next type is float. The float is mainly used to store the fraction values. Whenever if you want to store the fraction values, then we are making use of float. If you take the float, the size will be the 4 byte. The size is 4 bytes here. You know, integer 2 byte. In case of character only 1 byte, and in case of float that will be the 4 byte. 4 byte size will be there, and this will be the range. Here this will be the range 3.4 into 10 raised to minus 38. 10 raised to minus 38 to 3.4 into 10 raised to minus 38 minus 1. So why minus 1 here? Because if you take this one, 768 to 767, one number will be less because 0 is included. So minus 128, then 0, then 127. So this is a range. So one number will be lesser than here. If you take the left side, right side, one number will be lesser. So to provide that one, we are using minus 1 here. To provide that one, we are using minus 1. So here 3.4 into 10 raised to minus 38 to 3.4 into 10 raised to 38, not minus 38, 10 raised to 38 minus 1. So this is a total range. The next one here it is. Next one here it is the example. These are the example here. One is 4.545.386 or minus 3.34.365. Anything, any numbers we can store fraction values, either negative or positive values we can store in case of float. That is actually known as float. Next type of data type is double. Next type of fundamental data type is double. In that double, it is possible to store 8 bytes. It's possible to store 8 bytes, not 4. Here, total size is 8 bytes. Remember, you can see character 1 byte, int 2 bytes, float 4 bytes, and double 8 bytes. The size is going to increase. As the size increases, it is in case of double, it is possible to store fraction values. Same as float only, here also possible to store the fraction values. But here, you can say almost we can store 15 digits. 15 digits are possible to store. But in case of float, maximum 8 digits are possible. But in case of almost we are saying, not accurate it is, almost here 15 equivalent to 15 digits, means 15 symbols are possible or digits are possible in case of double. After fraction you can see 15, maximum 15 is possible. In case of here only 8 is possible, here 15. That is a range. But here the size you can see the size. 1.7 into 10 raised to 308. 1.7 into 10 raised to minus 308 to 1.7 into 10 raised to 308 minus 1. So this is the total range and here is the example. So here also is possible to store negative values and also the positive values. These are the different types of fundamental data types. And last one is void. Last type of fundamental data type is void. So for this one, there is no size, there is no range, and there is no example. Not possible to give the example. So what is the data type? Void means. Void means that is an empty data type. Whenever, in case of functions, we are going to study later functions. In case of functions, if you want to return any value, if you don't want to return any value, if you want to return integer type means we have to specify integer. If it is float means float, we have to specify which type of data you are going to return. Sometimes if you are not returning any data, sometimes you don't want to take any data, you don't want to send any data to supporting programs. At that time, you can specify as a void. Void means is empty. Null normally we say no null. Nothing is if you don't want to send anything. So at that time, you can specify the void. Void means is an empty data type. Void is known as empty data type. There is no size, there is no range, and there is no example also not possible to give. Example can give based on the program. Whenever you are going to study the remaining program, at that time I can give the example. But there is no range and there is no size also. These are known as empty data type. These are the different fundamental data types. Next here it is the modifiers. So already we discussed with the fundamental data types. Next is the modifiers. So what is a modifier? Modifier is used to alter the meaning of the basic data types. So basic data types are or base data types are one is integer, char, double, float and void. So if you want to alter the meaning means size sometimes or range and all. If you want to alter the basic data types, then we are making use of modifiers. So here modifier one is signed, unsigned, long and short. Mainly 4 types of modifiers are there. One is signed, unsigned, long and short. These are the mainly 4 types of modifiers. So here if you use the modifiers along with the operations, if you use this modifier along with the basic data type, so what will be the changes? So here you can see the table. This table you can see first is a character, normal character that ranges from minus 128 to 127. Already studied. Already we discussed about this. Char means that is minus 128 to 127. But if you use along with the unsigned, then range will be from 0 to 255. The range will be that in between the range, the value will be the same, but the range is going to change. Because unsigned means you start from zeros. Unsigned means you start from 0 and going to increase. Unsigned it start from 0 and going to increase to 255. Minus 128 to 127. That range is 255 only. That mainly contains 255 characters. 256 characters. So here also same thing. 0 to 255. Total 256 characters. But remember, if you use unsigned, the range is going to change. That is in case of unsigned. So here, if you use unsigned, it is not possible to use negative values. If you use unsigned, then it is not possible to use the negative value. That is in case of unsigned. The next one is signed char. If you use a signed char, in case of signed, it can be used minus 128 to 127. The range will be minus 128 to 127. That is the maximum range. That is in case of characters. And if the same thing can be used along with the integers. So if you use the int, the range will be minus 32,768 to 32,767. That is the maximum range. That is the maximum range of int. But if you use along with the unsigned, not start from not minus, start from 0 and 65,535. 65,535 will be the range. So if you use unsigned, in case of integer is not possible to use negative values. In case of integers is not possible to use negative values in case of unsigned. The next, if you want to use unsigned, if you want to use negative values, then you can use with the along with the sign. Sine tan it almost same. Sine and it is same. So if you use the sine, then it will be possible to use the negative side and also possible to use the positive side. The negative side here minus 32,768 to 32,767 is the range. Other than that, next type here is short. It's also possible to use short. If you use a short, there is no change for the integers. If you use the short, then there is no change for the integers. So integer range from minus 32,768 to 32,767. That range will be same short. Then unsigned short int we can use like this also. Unsigned short int. Unsigned means there is no sign. Short means the value will be same. The integers. So range will be 0 to 65,535. That will be the range. So that will be the range in case of unsigned short int. Next one is signed short int. Signed short int means that it is possible to count. Sign is there, so you can use negative, and also it is possible to use positive values. So range will be minus 32,768 to 32,767. That will be the range. Next type here is long. This is one more type, long int. If you use the long, the range will going to increase. The range is going to increase. If you use the long, then here this is the range minus 2147,483,647 to positive value, same positive value. That is the range. So we can see compare short and long. Okay, short int and long int we can compare. So how much values we can increase? So that much values we can give more in case of long int. So here unsigned. Unsigned means starting from 0. Unsigned long int, that will start from 0. And if you use a signed long int, that will be same as long int. These are the different modifiers. Other than this, here is some other modifiers also for float and double. For float also we are using, for double also we are using. I am not explaining that much. So I am explaining only based on the integer and the characters. So we will move to the next topic, where we can say that there is derived data types and also the user defined data types. Next here it is the different types of data types, that is derived data types and also the user defined data types. So what is the derived data types? The derived data type is constructed by based on the basic data types. The basic data types, or you can say the fundamental data types or simple data types. From the simple data type, it is possible to construct or derive possible to derive new type of data type, or new data type can be constructed by using the basic data types. That is actually known as derived data types. So example, you can see the arrays and also the pointers. Arrays and pointers are the example for derived data types. So in next chapter, upcoming chapter, we are going to discuss about the arrays separately and also pointers separately. So I am not going to explain that topics now. So that is known as derived data types. Next one is user defined data types. User defined data type means user or the developer can create his or her own type of data types. Their own type of data type they can be created. That is actually that type of data types are known as user defined data types. Example here is class, structure, union and enumerated. These are the mainly for example for the user defined data types. Next chapter or upcoming chapter we are studying structures. Next year we are going to study about classes and union. So this now I am explaining what about enumerated data types. So what is the enumerated data types? So here is the enumerated data type. It is user defined data type. Enumerated data type is user defined data type and assign values automatically. It assigns the values starting from 0 to assign the values starting from 0 to assign the values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that. Values are assigned automatically. Here is the syntax. If you want to assign the enumerated data types, the first one is enum. Enum is a keyword. Enumerated enum is a keyword. Then you have to give the space and you have to give the tag. So tag is a variable name. It is the enumerated data type name you should give. You should give the enumerated data type name. So any data type name you can give. So I give any data type name. Then you have to give the enumerated list. You have to give the enumerated list with this flower bracket and finally with the semicolon. This is the syntax for enumerated. Then after that, here is an example. You can see enum. Like same keyword. Type name I given as my type. Type name I given as my type. Then in open flower bracket, alpha, beta, gamma. I mentioned 3 values. I mentioned the 3 values. That is alpha, and beta and gamma. Then closing flower bracket with the semicolon. So if we use like that, automatically our value of alpha will be 1. Value of alpha will be 1. value of beta, sorry, alpha will be 0, value of beta is 1, value of gamma is 2. So always is assign the value from toward left to right, and automatically will be assigned. First value will be 0, second value will be 1, and third value will be the 2. So like that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 the values are going to assign. After assigning the value, next step you have to create the variable for that one. Next you have to create the variable. So I create my type x. If you just given my type x equal to al alpha. If you give it like this, my type x equal to alpha. So value of x, x will, value of alpha will be 0, that will be assigned to x. That will be assigned to x. That is actually implicit conversion or rules to write. That I am going to explain how to write the rules. So just it is a method. So if you assign the values like this, that value will be assigned. If you assign beta, you will assign beta, then which value will be assigned? The value here 1. Beta value is automatically given as 1, that value will be assigned to x value. So that is actually in case of enumerated data types. Enumerated data type means that will assign the values automatically in a sequence starting from 0 and will increase. Then if you don't want a 0, 1, 2, 3, if you want to specify your own type, or if you want to specify your own data means that is possible here. This example, second example you can see that. And that is possible to assign your own values. So here enumerated size S, M and L. I given small. So small I use just S, then medium M, then I use L. S I assigned as 10, M I assigned as 50, and L I assigned as 100. So this values I assigned. Then if I use size A equal to S. If you assign like this, which value? What is the value of A? Value of A will be the S value. S value is 10. So this 10 will be assigned to A, it will be 10. A value will be 10. So if you want to assign M means M value will be assigned. If you will assign L value is going to be assigned. So that is in case of enumerated data types. So this is possible. Or if you want to add, for example, if you want to add size A is equal to S plus M. That is possible. That is the rules. So enumerated conversion, type conversion rule. This is actually known as type conversion rule. So here size A is equal to S plus L. Size A is equal to S plus L means, so value of S is 10, value of L will be 100, that will be assigned, that will be added here. That is possible. Or we can use size M, size K is equal to 10, so you can use 20 plus L. That is also possible. 20 plus L. 20 means value 20 plus L. L value will be 100 here. That will be assigned, that will be added, and that will be stored in K. That is possible. But this too is possible. I will write one more statement. Size J equal to 35. This statement. This will be the error because 35 value is not possible. Directly it is not possible to assign the value. That is, directly is not possible to assign the value. But along with that variable is possible to assign the value. That is the type conversion rule. That is actually known as type conversion rule. This is not possible. They will give the compiler will give the error. So these statements are possible. This statement is not possible in case of enumerated data types. So by here we reach the end of session today. In this session we mainly discussed about the different types of data types, the fundamental data types, the 5 types of fundamental data types, and also with the derived data type and also user defined data types. And we discussed along with that we discussed about modifiers. Based on this one, I will give the worksheet, work out that one. So by here, we will finish this chapter, data types chapter. We will move to the upcoming session. We will move to the one more chapter, that is input output operators. After that, you can write the program. After that, you can start with the programming part. So next chapter, we will move to the next chapter. We will meet in the next session. Today, we will finish my topic. Thank you.